Welcome to the Discount Property Investor Podcast, where we show you how to buy real estate at a discount so you can create wealth over time and income today. Our mission is to share what we have learned from the experience of others and help you make more money investing like a pro. We want to teach you how to create wealth by investing in real estate, the Discount Property Investor way. Thanks for tuning in.
You're great.
Hey guys, welcome back. Discount Property Investors. This is the Discount Property Investor Podcast. We are your hosts, David Dodge and Mike Slane. Hey Mike.
Hey Dave, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. Good morning to you.
Good. Welcome, listeners. If it's your first time joining us, please go back and, well, first off, thank you so much for listening.
Absolutely.
And we'd encourage you, if you're interested in learning how to wholesale, to go back and listen to the first 10 episodes of our podcast. There we talk about a lot of the basics of wholesaling. We also put together a free course at freewholesalecourse.com. So go ahead and check that out as well. It's got everything you need from contracts to sellers information, lead sheet,
right.
Everything you need to get started in wholesaling real estate. So Dave, what are we talking about today?
Today is an awesome episode, Mike. I'm excited. We are going to talk about how we made $2,500 over the course of 365 days.
Woo!
This is an awesome episode, guys. This is a case study.
All right, so
of
we're
a
kind
recent deal that we just did.
Yeah, and we're kind of making fun of the fact that we made a pretty small profit over a pretty long period of time.
We are.
Because a lot of times we're going to see, and we're going to throw them out there too, the case studies where we make $10,000, $20,000, $30,000.
$60,000, $80,000.
Right.
Sometimes it happens, guys.
In 30 days or 14 days.
Right.
Things like that. But this is one of those deals where we're grinding it out and made some money, and I think it's hugely important.
It is hugely
illustrates
important. It
that
is.
The money is in follow-up. And again, this is $2,500 that wouldn't have been in our bank account.
I'm going to repeat what you just said. The money is in the follow-up.
Right.
I can't stress that enough, guys. The money is in the follow-up.
And again, this $2,500 wouldn't have been in our bank account had we not done this.
Not only did we make $2,500, but one of our junior buyers made $1,500.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
We really netted closer to $4,000, but we paid out, and it was a win-win. One thing that we don't want to forget, guys, not only did we make $2,500, woohoo, rich, over the course of a year, we also helped a seller sell, and we also helped a buyer that's looking for his next rental property acquire a good deal on a property. So, the money is great, of course. But there's more to it than that. We helped some people out in the process.
And we're kind of teasing about it, but you could be out there. I mean, if you're working a lower paying job, I mean, you could make $2,500 in a month. I mean, that's what you're living off of right now.
Minimum wage, you're not going to clear that after taxes.
Right.
And maybe not even in 2 months.
So, I mean, again, it's not a huge win in the wholesaling business.
It's a win, though.
But it is a win. And for somebody,
it's a win.
If it's doing your first deal, kind of like our JV buyer hasn't done a lot of deals, he's going to make, what'd you say, $1,400, $1,500?
Right.
I mean, that's a great deal. That's a lot of money. I mean, that's
yeah, especially when you're making $20, $25 an hour, or even $10, $15 an hour. $1,500, that's a lot of money.
Right. So again, we kind of tease, but again, we realize.
Stay humble. $2,500 is a good amount of money, guys. Now, the fact that it took us a year to make it, that's kind of where the joke in the podcast comes in.
But honestly, that's what I'm more proud of on this deal than anything else.
So if you haven't listened to the most recent podcast, I'm not sure about the number of it, but it was called The Matrix, and it was all about follow-up. So this is kind of a piggyback podcast to that one, because we're doing a case study on this particular deal, but we would have never been able to help these people, we'd never been able to pay our junior buyer, and never been able to earn this $2,500 of profit if we wouldn't have followed up with this particular deal over the course of literally over a year.
Yeah, and had that system built.
Right.
Because again, it wasn't Dave and I doing all the work by any stretch
It was
of the
the entire
imagination.
team.
Yeah, we have a whole team, a whole system built out.
So let's talk about this particular deal.
Dive in, Dave.
We're gonna pull up our lead sheet here in Podio. Again, we talked about this CRM in our last podcast. So we essentially started working this lead about 12 months ago, roughly. Okay, and the lead came in. It was up in North County, St. Louis, Missouri, where the Discount Property Investors are located. We're located here in St. Louis, Missouri. And the lead came in for this small little, I think it's a 2-bed, 1-bath house, Mike, is that right? 3-bed, 1-bath house. And the seller was motivated to sell. However, he was upside down in the property. And we made him an offer for $8,000. and I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe he owed about $30,000 or $35,000 on this property.
Yeah, he indicated 30.
The mortgage amount on the lead sheet says 30. No, please. And so he owed the bank $30,000, and for whatever reason, he didn't go the short sale route, which you would think would have been the best bet.
Now, was the owner living there, or was this an investment property? No, this was
an investment property.
Okay, so that's probably part of it then.
And
right?
he had a bunch, and we're not going to name any names, obviously, but he has a bunch of other properties, and he had a mortgage of $30,000 on it, and he just was done with it. He was tired of the area. He was saying that every time he installed an AC unit outside, a condenser, it would walk off, so somebody would steal it, and it was a problem property.
Right, and depending on how you define the area, it's definitely a C-class asset. I mean, definitely not one of the better areas in St. Louis, but again, a solid rental area if you cage your ACs.
Right. And absolutely. So long story short, we're scrolling through our comments section on Podio right now, and it looks to me like every 2 or 3 weeks, somebody from our team reached out to the seller on this. We made him the offer. We went out to the property. We took some pictures. We negotiated. Essentially, we were kind of firm on our $8,000 offer, and he owed about $30,000 on the property. So long story short, he had to come to closing with $22,000.
Well, let's be clear though. So, and I'm looking at the initial when it was initially filled in. The seller knew he was going to take a loss. His asking price was only about $15,000. So I mean, he realized that again that he was going to have to come to the table with $15,000. So it wasn't like he was even really shooting for an unrealistic number.
Yeah, he knew he was going to take a bath.
Yeah, he knew. Absolutely. It was just.
And to him, I think it was a win to come out of pocket $15,000 or in this case $22,000. Versus having that, monthly mortgage payment of $500-$600, whatever it was,
and to be done with it, because again, it was a headache for him.
So some people may be listening right now and be like, "Well, you guys didn't help this guy." Well, that's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is we did, because we took this monthly debt, this monthly liability off his plate. He knew he was going to lose, and we were able to at least stop the bleeding.
Well, we're also pretty.
So we did help him out.
We're pretty straightforward. I mean, we know we.
Well, we told him if you can get another offer from someone else for more, go get it.
Right, exactly, and that's the other thing too. So a lot of real estate agents won't even work in areas like this. I mean, they don't even want to.
Well, what's 3% of $8,000, Mike?
Right,
a couple $100.
They don't want to.
They don't want to deal with that. It may not even be a couple $100.
So somebody like this, again, there's not really a way to liquidate the property. There's no easy way to liquidate it, and that's one of the value adds that wholesalers bring to the market. Is we bring in liquidity.
We do.
One of our buddies says that all the time. Is we add liquidity to the market, which is
we're the market makers.
Yeah, which is good. I mean, again, it's helpful.
It's so helpful.
Yeah.
So long story short, we closed on the property. Seller brought in some cash, so that way we could get away with only paying $8,000 because he owed more money on the property.
So talk about that though. So we actually closed on this one. Was there a reason for that, or what happened there?
So that's a good question. So we actually had a buyer lined up on this property. We worked this property for over a year, just almost about 12 and a half months. The buyer we had found, and he wanted to buy the property, and he wanted the AC unit installed on the property. And the seller had multiple other rentals and had an AC unit and was willing to install an AC unit. The buyer, however, wanted a cage on there. And I told the buyer, hey, we'll help you. I know a guy that can put a cage on it, but I'm not paying for that. If you want, I can have it put on and either send the bill to you, or I can pay it, and then you can pay me back at closing. And he said, yeah, just do that. Just go ahead and pay for it, get it on there, and then you can invoice the title company at closing, and then we'll get you paid back. So essentially what happened was the seller installed the condenser, the AC unit. The very next day, I called my cage guy, and he came out and put a cage on it. I paid him. And then at closing, we were refunded the amount of the cage. So there was a little bit of a hiccup, but it was just all it was a problem that we needed to solve in order to sell the property. And we contacted all the parties involved, and we made it work. We solved the problem, and we were able to make the deal work. So the numbers on the deal are this: we bought the property for $8,000.
Here, let me find the numbers here for you. I'll move over to our
I think we sold it
workspace.
for $12,500, I believe. $12,000 and some change is what we sold it for. So we had gross profits on the deal of $3,700. We paid our junior buyer out, which is essentially our field buyer, the guys that go out and they look at the properties and they make offers for us. We paid him out 40%. So he made $1,400 on the deal. And House Sold Easy Properties, that's the acquisition side of Discount Property Investor, we were able to make about $2,500 on this deal. So again, guys, not a home run, but we would have never been able to do this if we hadn't followed up with this seller over the course of 10, 11 months and just said, hey, we're still interested in this property. However, we're at 8, you're at 15. You either need to come down to where we're at, or you need to make this, you need to figure out a way to make this work. And essentially, we kept calling him. We called him almost every single week.
Yeah, well, that's what's
it's
10 and a half,
11 months.
Our one of our assistants, is extremely persistent and actually makes the calls for us, which is huge. It's something that if you don't
that's his job.
If you don't have someone doing it, you have to do it, and it's something that I wasn't great at until I had a system like this, and now we're able to let someone else do it for us. But it's so important because again, if you look through, and I wish I could show you guys, but it's every week. Almost every week you can see called seller, called left voicemail, called seller,
emailed seller, texted seller,
called
seller
every week.
Right.
And it's not just this lead. So we've got
every lead.
Oh my God, we've got so many leads in the system right now. There's probably about
1,500 of them in there, maybe, give or take.
I was gonna say 32,000.
Oh, when you look at it that way, yeah, true. Yeah.
We've got a lot of leads that we're
the follow-up system is probably close to 1,500.
Yeah,
and that means that they're on a sequence to be called either weekly, every other week, or it could even be as far out. We said in the last podcast, it could be 5 years later. Call them, but we've created a task so we don't forget about that.
Now, Dave says system. 5 years. I would never put a 5-year one on anything. I'd put a year out.
The year out's usually the longest. I was exaggerating,
yeah,
but it does give you the ability to do such things.
Yeah, you can do however long you want.
Right.
So anyways, it's not just this lead either, though. That's what's so awesome is we've got 1,500 something leads that we've got someone following up with either every week or once a month or once every 3 months, or I'll follow up in 6 months on this one. And I think the other thing that's really neat about this is it just my personal preference. I don't like the canned, I'm going to follow up with everyone every 3 months, or I'm going to follow up with every single one of them.
Well, not only that,
follow up with an email auto
not only that, but it's impossible. So let's say that you had let's say you did Tuesdays or your follow-up days, and you have 1,500 leads. You can't call 1,500 people every Tuesday or even every other Tuesday. You have to have sequences that are irregular.
Oh, absolutely.
So that way, once you get to 300, 500, 1,000 follow-ups in your sequences, that I have 15 today, and I have 12 tomorrow, and I have 32 on Friday. Because if you try to do all of them on the same day, it would never happen.
Oh no, yeah, and that's not even what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I like how ours isn't so robotic, though. That it's one of the things we mentioned in our previous episode about our follow-up is it doesn't really matter. You just have to have a follow-up task on there. You have to have the next task open to remind you to do something. So what I'm saying is I like that our system is flexible in that it doesn't really matter. We just click, okay, I'll follow up in 2 weeks, or I'll follow up in 3 weeks, or whatever it is, and that we're able to get it done.
It gets done.
Yeah, it's really just it's neat, and it's something that I hope you experience is doing a deal that takes you a year.
Right.
That's
so. Here's a couple points that I want to bring up real quick, Mike. First and foremost, 2,500 over 365 days, guys. It's a joke. It's a laughing matter. But if we're sometimes doing 10 of these a month. Okay. So if we were to walk away from this deal because we're like, oh, we only would have made $2,500, that's kind of sad, because if you can do 5 or 10 of those in a month, well, that could essentially be 20 grand. If you do 10 deals at $2,000, that's $20,000 a month of income and gross revenues that you can essentially create, from these follow-ups. Okay. Another thing is look at our ROI on this deal. Okay. So before we paid out our field buyer, our junior buyer, We had a gross profits of $3,500. Our acquisition price was $8. So I'm not a math genius here, but we almost had 50% return on investment. 4,000 would have been 50%. So we made a 43% return on our investment. We invested $8,000 and we got a little over $12,000 back. So our ROI on this deal, even though we spent time over the course of a full year calling, text, and email, and that doesn't take a lot of time, especially if they don't answer. Call, leave a voicemail, you're out 90 seconds.
Tops. Yeah, maybe a minute.
Maybe a minute, right? So once we were able to actually do this deal, we had a 43% return on our investment, and we held it for maybe 4 days between the time that we were able to buy it and the time that our seller was able to get to the title company, close, and reimburse us. Where else on the planet can you get a 43% return on your money in 4 days?
Bitcoin.
Maybe Bitcoin. You can also lose 43% in a minute.
I'm teasing Dave because I know he's a big Bitcoin guy.
Oh yeah. So but definitely, not only did we have a hefty return on our investment, but there wasn't a lot of time invested, even though we followed up over 365 days. So it's kind of a catch-22. There wasn't a lot of time invested, although we did spend a year working on this lead if you look at the big picture.
I love it, man. I mean, I love it. How we made $2,500 over 365 days. I'm going to put this out in one of our little case studies too.
I think it's great.
Because it just illustrates the point that follow-up is so important and it can make you money. And Dave points it out too. $2,500, yeah, it's not a lot of money, but again, if you've built a system, and we've built a system to enable us to do 5, 10, sometimes 15 deals a month.
Absolutely. But like our rent is about $1,200 a month at our office here in St. Louis. That pays 2 months worth of rent. And we could have walked away from this deal and said, oh, this is a small deal. But again, you do 5, 10 of these a month, or even a quarter, that it starts to add up, guys. So don't walk away from these little deals. You got to follow up. Follow up's the name of the game.
And the thing is, you never know which deal. Again, until the deal's closed, you don't know what your profit's going to be. Like you can come up with a projection. Like I guess it's a pro forma is what they call them in accounting or whatever. Right. But you don't know until it closes really what your profit's going to be. Like you can speculate, oh, that's probably going to be a small deal.
Right. And the buyer on this particular deal was super happy to get this at $12,000 too. He's got a couple other properties in the area. It's a good deal for him. Even though we made a little profit on this deal, he's still super happy. He's going to come back. He's going to buy more properties from us. He would have not been able to find a house like this for that price without the wholesalers in the middle. So again, everybody's happy. It was a win-win-win. And we made a 43% profit on our investment, which was only $2,500 over the course of an entire year. But this is a great case study. And I love the fact that we're doing this one, Mike, because we didn't make $25,000. We didn't make $60,000. We made $2,500 over the course of a year. But it just goes to show you the money is in the follow-up, guys. Persistence. One of my favorite quotes, you've probably heard me say it before. Consistent, persistent action wins the game. You got to consistently be persistent. And that's exactly what we did with this deal. And it's a great case study. I'm super glad that we talked about it, Mike.
I love it. I love it, guys.
It's awesome.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening to us. I think we've covered this case study. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. You can find us on coaching@discountpropertyinvestor.com. Shoot us an email.
Yeah.
You can find us on the free wholesale course. That's probably where you should go first. There we've got everything laid out.
If you haven't checked that out, guys, go check that out first. I had an individual send me a Facebook message last night. He's a local guy. He said, Dave, I've been following you and listening to your podcast, and I started the free wholesale course. Can you give me 5 minutes of your time? And I said, I'd be happy to. However, have you finished the free wholesale course yet? He said, no, I'm about halfway through. I said, all right, not trying to be rude. I'll give you 5 minutes of my time, but finish the course, because a lot of the questions that you may have are most likely going to be answered in that course. He said, that's fair. He said, let me go back in there, let me finish it. Because it's jam-packed with all the things that we do in our business. And, anything you need to know about wholesaling is in the free course, guys. Check it out. Free wholesale course.
And it's funny because I do sometimes feel the same way, but our time is valuable.
Time is valuable. And I told him, I said, listen, I will.
That's the reason we put
guy. And the reason that I'm even going to do is he could be a buyer for me. So there's multiple benefits there. I want to help the guy. But you got to go do some work first. You have to go. I've already put together this course.
Right, we spent a lot of time
together this course.
Yeah, so go look at it, please. Be respectful of our time. We're going to be respectful of yours, obviously, right
Likewise.
back. So check out the free course, guys. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast.
Let's finish out with a good quote here,
Oh,
Mike.
yeah, you got one?
Talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence wins championships. And that's a perfect quote for this case study, guys. Put in the work, follow up. Don't be afraid of these small deals because sometimes your ROI can be massive on them. And you do a couple of these a month, it adds up. So, thanks for listening, guys. Hope you enjoyed our $2,500 case study. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to the Discount Property Investor Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to help us reach a wider audience. We would also appreciate it if you left us a review on iTunes or Stitcher. Thanks in advance for your support. And remember, you make your money when you buy and get paid when you sell. Now let's go build some wealth.